week. If we have Professor right now. Prof, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Thank you. It's 12:44 a.m. here. It's almost 1 a.m.
All right. So, Prof, before we get into the gist of this discussion, I hope you have seen the report which was released yesterday, and your country is doing so badly. The Demographic and Health Survey 2022 shows a lot of, data collected from across the country. You must be asking so many questions as a citizen of this country. What do you think of that survey, Prof?
I don't know what country you're talking about. Kenya, my country. You can see I'm very passionate about Kenya. No, Kenya is doing great. I actually just came back from Kenya on Sunday. I was there for 1 week for the Presidential Working Party retreat that was at Semester. And you know what? I love Kenya. It's what it is, and I'm always reminded by the quote that by J.F. Kennedy that said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." The survey was not good. We are not perfect, but it tells us that there's work that we need to do. As we talked about MLK, what was going on yesterday, there are doors that we have to keep knocking. We cannot give up on our country. We have to work together, and what we call it here is we need to have all decks on board. We need to have everybody on board. So that just tells us, yes, it is not good, it's a report, but yes, there's work that we have to do. So I'm not discouraged at all. It does not surprise me. Each and every continent that you go, they're going to be perfect. But I think right now we have a government that is really dedicated. Actually, CES for Health, I happened to meet with her. I spent some time with her when I came. So there are things what is the other hand is I'm part of the AMPA that is looking at health and see how we can help on this other hand. The Ministry of Health just put together a group from there. Things are not good, but the encouraging part of it is that we are all working together to improve our country. I love Kenya, I love my people, and we shall continue to work together until this is done. We shall not stop until we get to where we need to be. So let's all join hands together. We need all hands on deck because we can do this together.
One worrying trend and part of the survey is that gender-based violence is still rampant in the country, but the biggest one is sexual form of gender-based violence. As a professor, how do you think we can change the whole situation in the country?
I was listening to that conversation. As you look at me, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a survivor of gender-based violence where I was sexually molested. So I'm a survivor, and survivors don't give up. So yeah, all those conditions. So I am a survivor, and you can never defeat a survivor. You can never put down a survivor because we will wake up. We have resilience, but I think the more, the fact that it's out there now, we are more aware that it exists. Those days when I went through that, I couldn't speak about it. I couldn't talk about it. I was dying internally. I was dying in pain. I almost took my life away because I was suffering and no one was talking about it. But it is encouraging the fact that we are talking about it. We are many of us here who are champions. We are many of us here who are survivors. And we will do whatever it takes to support our dear sisters and brothers. So yes, I am aware of being there, done that. We have work to do.
First of all, I didn't know that you are a survivor of gender-based violence, so I think it was the right point to start this conversation. having gone through that and you survived, I believe your voice is the voice of reason to teach the women of this country, or even men, so that GBV in the country can be eradicated. All right, so you were in the Presidential Working Task Force and you had your recommendations. Schools are reopening next week. What are some of the recommendations that you proposed to the President that perhaps you don't have as a media? One of them is that the junior secondary school will still be domiciled in the schools they are in currently.
Yes, that is correct. So yes, again, this is a work in progress. Again, I cannot... what we submitted to His Excellency the President was the initial report, and that was focusing on the 6th grade. And the fact that we, based on stakeholder responses and based on all visions that we received, it was recommended that it was the wishes of the Kenyans and the community that the grade 7 domicile is the current high school. So yes, they're going to school on the 31st, and it is not perfect. There is a lot of work that has to be done. Like I said, I was in Kenya last week, and we were with the ministry officials, we were Director General, we were with the Education, Higher Education.
Right.
And they're all working together to ensure that this is had all their preparations, and they're working together to that kids are ready for school in the next 2 weeks. Like again, it's not a that is ahead of us. We have children who are relying on us. We have children that we love so much. We love our country. And I think at this point, we're not doing blame game. We just got to move forward as a team and do the best that we can do. And I honestly applaud the leaders from His Excellency and his team, the ministry, and everybody is working together to our children, our 7th graders, placed in school. There are things that are still needed. The schools are not resourced. The teachers are being trained. The issues about uniform. But I think one of the burdens that has been taken away as the CS for Education announced the the kids, the capitation will be provided for the 7th graders, so the parents don't have to pay anything extra. The only thing that they would need to do is to possibility there as... So again, it's a work in progress. We're making progress in the right Professor Manabu and the entire team. Amazing, wonderful, great people. I enjoyed being with them. We work together. Actually, they're working on the report right now because our next report is due at the end of this month.
All right. Prof, let's take a quick break and we'll come back. I still need to ask the issue of uniform. And of course, there's that fee increment that was put out there by the government, and many parents are saying they're not ready for that. So let's take a break. We'll be right back with Professor Jerono Rotich. Welcome back. Now, we are still having that discussion, Matters Education, with Professor Jerono.
In 2018, Nakada reported that about 4.9...
America? Okay, sorry for that mix-up. Okay, so Prof, welcome back. And let me ask you this question. There is that bit of the fee increment which was subsidized by the previous regime, and now it's been taken back to where it was initially. Many parents are complaining about that. Why was it increased from the initial subsidy to the original figure?
Well, I would defer that to the ministry, because a lot of our recommendations is, we put the recommendations, but we also expected the ministry to come up with the logistics, especially with the finances. That is a collaboration, that is a task that is done collaboratively with the Treasury. So as we are aware that we are facing financial challenges here and there, So I think it's in the spirit of co-sharing, so that especially as we move into the transitions right now, we have 7th graders who are moving into a space that are completely resourced. So that would really help to facilitate the resources. That would help to put in the resources that are needed. So what that covers is, the best of my understanding is, it covers a tuition, but the parents have to pay for it. And again, everything, that figure has not been reviewed for a very long time, so it does not factor the inflation. But again, I'm not the right person to do that, but I think that would be being good. We had those issues. We had a committee looking at finances, and what we saw across the board is, look at what is going on with our universities. There is a need for us to all contribute. There is a need for us to be strategic, to find ways of financing our education institutions. And especially in this case, there's a lot of things that are needed, the dorms, the labs, and all that. So I think it's in the spirit of cost-sharing again. Those factors had not been revisited for a while. And again, that is normal across the board. Everywhere, even in developed countries like where we are here, parents have to pay a percentage. And a lot of those things is based on income. So I don't think, and again, one of the recommendations was moving forward that a lot of these things they should consider looking at income-based, so that parents who cannot afford do not pay the same amount as myself or somebody like you, those who can afford to take care of their children. Because right now, everybody is paying equally, whether you have money or you don't have money. The same capitation and the same amount is required.
Okay. But so, Prof, just let me ask you this question. Why didn't you have a gradual increment? This was a full-blown increment from the initial figure, and it was taken back to the 100% figure that it was before.
Again, I really do not want to speak to that because my area is not finances, but I think there's got to be, what we know across the board is we all need to contribute to education. There are some factors that we ask the ministry to look into. You look at the cost, you look at how much it costs to educate a child, it takes a lot. It costs a lot of money, and again, here across the board, based on the needs. And like I said, that amount had not been updated for a while. So when you look at the inflation rates, when you look at the expenses of the labs and everything that it costs now, especially with the KBC curriculum that requires a lot of equipment, facilities. So I want to believe that it is in good faith. Again, I'm not an expert in that. I don't want to speak on behalf.
Yes. All right. Other stakeholders are also saying that the issue of teacher preparedness is still an issue. How is the task force recommending, or what are some of the recommendations to equip teachers to tackle CBC effectively?
Again, like I said before, and I think it's been said, that the CBC, what our task force recommended was that the ministry looks at ways of training the teachers. And I know this whole week, I think they were in Mary, they were training, teachers were being trained, because I was there, and there were so many moving parts that was going on. There were teachers that were being trained, there were selections that was going on for the Form 1 students. So all I can tell you is, from my being there, I went to the ministry, I could see everybody is working up and down. Everybody was on their toes trying to make sure that the teachers are trained. Are we going to have all the teachers trained by the 31st? No, we will not. But then at least we have teacher trainers, teacher mentors who can mentor, who can get the classes rolling. So this is an ongoing progress. Again, remember this, the curriculum was in place. We should have really been prepared for a while. We should not have waited until the last minute. But it's what it is right now. But what I can assure you is the ministry, we recommended that the ministry to really sit together and strategize, and they have done that. I was there, I saw what was going on. We worked together with the PSs, we worked together with the leaders from the ministry, and they are working around the clock to ensure that when our children get to grade 7 on the 31st, or whatever the date is, they will have teachers, they will have resources, education will continue. So I want to assure the citizens that, let's work together, let's be patient, but we have a government, we have a ministry, we have individuals, we have great leaders who are devoted to ensuring that our kids will be okay, education will continue.
Okay. Apart from the recommendation to have the junior secondary school to have a different and a separate uniform from the rest of the learners, what are some of the recommendations again that will be used to differentiate the two lots of students?
Well, it's not really, we do not, my area is inclusion, diversity, and belonging, and we're not about excluding or differentiating people. They're just going to a different grade. They're in the same school. So again, the recommendation was for the teachers and the ministry to figure out, find a way so that they can also feel that they're in high school, junior high school.
Yes.
So I think one of the, you did not again make the recommendation, I think one of the recommendations, one of the ideas they came up with was a uniform. So again, that's not a big deal really. It's just so that they can also feel that they're high school students, so that they can feel like they're at a different level. Because like I said, most of them were really excited about going to a new school. But we know that, again, even from looking at the Form 1 selection, what was going on is the placements is we don't even have space for the ones who are going to Form 1 right now. So where were we going to put the 7th graders again from the statistics?
Actually, that's the biggest question, because if you look at the number of students, the Form 1 selection and placement, the numbers are not balancing. So how is the government going to act to ensure that there is 100% transition?
The 100% transition will happen. That is not a question. It will happen. The question is, and I think what we noticed was, did the students get the choices where they picked where they wanted to be? No. So what we know that there's 100% transition, but not every student will get the school that they selected. The choices, and I think it was fair and equitable because they computerized. Unlike many other years, this time the ministry, they computerized the Form 1 selections. And from what we have seen or what we've heard or what we shared is the selections were based on choice. At least I think it was a top 10 students, top 5 students from each county who scored high were able to go to national schools. So again, there was merit, there was equity to make sure that it's fairness, that there is no impartiality, that is fair, especially there were a lot of issues about students who are in public versus private school. Honestly, it was based on choice. Again, they tried as much as they could to respect the choice, merit, equity. Again, that make sure it was fair, that there was no impartiality, and then the availability of space. That was a really key thing. We have more students selecting schools than the spaces that are available. So therefore, students did not, the parents were not happy, or not everybody's happy with what they got. But that is what we have. We also know that during those elections, what they factored was, again, we talked about 100% transition that will happen. Every child will go to high school. Affirmative action, again, especially affirmative action was factored. Children from disadvantaged communities, they ensured that from disadvantaged populations or communities were able to be considered so that there's that equitable distribution. And the students with disabilities, and also we saw I think we also saw that the refugee communities were also incorporated to ensure that they were given fair opportunities.
Okay, so Prof, apart from any other help that the government is going to give, what are some of the recommendations that you put in that report for the government to chip in to assist the parents and guardians?
That report is still being worked on. The team is working on the report now. Like I said, the only report that was submitted, and again, I don't have the purview to give that report. The recommendation was for the 6th grade student. We've done that. The ministry is putting together all things in place. We have a lot of recommendations that are coming through in our second report. So again, there is a consensus. There's a team that is finalizing that report right now. I think they're in Nashville. And then we'll get together again. So I really cannot preempt what was discussed, what is being discussed or what is being put in the report. But again, His Excellency, and we'll get that report from the reporting authorities. So I cannot. But what we recommended is to really make sure that we are taking care of our children. Education is a very important component for all of us. If you look at what is rolling the developed countries, it's because we have access to education. So ensuring that there's that access to education for all, the equitable fairness, and really I think one of the key things that across the board that came through is reinforcing the schools. We went through the election. We saw that all our schools are not fully resourced, all our schools are not equitably resourced, and that is why some parents or some students are not happy, because there are some special schools like the national schools. I call it the 3R. So the rigor in those national schools, the reputation and the resources, the key thing is the resources. I want to say the rigor is across the board, because I am a teacher who was trained at Kenyatta University. We teach across the board. We have the same skill sets. We have the same expertise. We are all trained equally. So I don't want to say it's the teachers, but I want to say it's resources. It's the resources that really contribute to the reputation, which if we ensure, and I know the government is very committed to ensuring that every school across every corner of Kenya is fully resourced with equipment, with teachers, with whatever they need. I think that is what we need right now, so that our children can go to whatever school they want to go to, they can study wherever they want to go to, without fear of having to travel so far. Right now, kids have been placed so far away from home because they're just not enough schools, they're just not enough facilities, they're just not enough spaces for our students. So again, going back to what I said at the beginning is, let's not ask what your country can do for you, but what is it that we, all of us, can do? We are all stakeholders in this. I think if we start looking at that to say, this is our country, these are our children, this is our education system, then we all stop complaining and pull our hands together, pull our sleeves together and say, let's put all hands on deck and let's do what it takes so that we can build, we can resource our education system, we can be a leader in our education system.
Okay. Prof, let's just talk about this. NEC quietly released grade 6 results, and it was posted actually on individual schools' portals. This is a complete departure from what we are used to, where there's always a press conference, the ministry officials are always there to release the examination results. But this one was done quietly. Why was it done like that? A complete departure from the norm?
Because again, when the president announced, we say that the grades or the scores will not be used. Remember, they are not moving, they are not going to high school. This was just used for intervention. So it was just to share. And I think honestly, being a teacher, I would really love to know that, because then I know the skill sets that the students are coming with. The students are coming in transitioning from grade 6 to grade 7. So that feedback is very critical as to where the interventions are needed. So that gives me, we do those formative evaluations to see where we are, especially now that as we bring teachers, so that helps them to know what are the gaps, where do we need to focus on, where do we need to focus our interventions on. So yes, because the results were not being used for them to be selected to transition to another system or to another school, it was very clear that yes, the results will be shared with the teachers so that they can use them for interventions, for improvement, so that they can help these children. So to me, again, that would be the greatest thing I have. But then the students they need what they don't need.
All right. But Professor, for the sake of knowledge, why will not they're not going to use it to place learners in junior high school, the grade 6 results? Why so?
But they're not placing anybody because they're just moving on to the next grade. Remember, we said we're not initially, when the exam was done, these students were supposed to transition to high school, to secondary school. But based on the issues that we discovered that the committee, again, based on the stakeholder findings, was that we don't have enough resources for them. Can you imagine right now we have these Form 1s going there, we don't even have space for them. So what would have happened? So then it was very clear that these results will only be used because it was already done before we found out. So these results will be used for interventions, and we're just giving them feedback to know where the kids, where they are, the level of knowledge in the different areas. So that one was very clear. Why would you announce it anyway and they're not going anyway? It's just like you getting your report card, right? At the end of the term, you get your report card, you know where you failed, you know your weaknesses, you know what areas you need to work on. So that is what it is. That is, and it was very clear that this is where we are going with the results of this grade 6, not putting it out there, and it's not there.
All right. So, Prof, I think at this particular point, I'll leave it at that. And just your quick remark, 30 seconds. Are you missing your country, Kenya?
What? Am I missing Kenya?
Yes.
All the time. You see how patriotic I am? I have Kenya all over my hands everywhere. I miss Kenya all the time. I love Kenya. I was there. I left there on Saturday. Got here Sunday. So I love Kenya. I enjoyed myself. I will come back. You know, I'm on the task force. So most of the times I'm back and forth. I want to tell parents, I said, you know, let's be patient. I know it is a tough time. There are a lot of moving parts that are going on. But let's be patient. Let's support our children. Let us mentor them. You know, whatever the situation is, we shall overcome this. Again, you have a lot of support. Education is very critical. I've been there. I've taken kids through college. I have 2 adult children, so I know what it takes. Parental engagement is key. And let us stand by our children every step of the way. Support our children, support our teachers, support our government, and you know what? We shall be well. It shall be well.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much for your valid time, Professor, and thank you for talking to us. I hope that in the coming days or weeks, some of the recommendations that you put forward to the President will be effected for the betterment of the education sector in the country. Asante sana. That was Professor Jerono Phyllis Rotich, all the way from the United States of America, talking to us matters education. The NEC released grade 6 results, and for one placement also happened 2 days ago. It's now up to the family, friends, guardians, parents, or even people who are responsible to take their kids back to school come next week. That's where we take a break, but GMK continues after this. Good morning.